They're going to register all of us. They're talking about ID now. Another executive order, take over airports, aircraft, including commercial airplanes. Relocate communities, build new housing designated to be abandoned. Take over railroad inways, waterways, public storage facilities. Take over all financial institutions. They're in the process of doing that now. Hurricane Katrina was a dress rehearsal, I believe. Police with guns drawn went into homes and confiscated guns. And then during Katrina, thousands of citizens were instructed to cross the bridge from New Orleans to Gretna, Louisiana, where buses would escort them out of the area. But Gretna Chief of Police Arthur Larson told his police officers to shoot at the people and force them back over the bridge to New Orleans. So first they took their guns away, and then they shot at them. They first took their guns, and then they shot at them. U.S. troops involved in Katrina violated the Posse Comitatus Act, not to use military against the civilians. This act was passed 100 years ago, June the 16th, 1878. Bush passed the John Warner National Defense Authorization Act on October 17, 2006. He slipped in at the last minute. The act destroys the Posse Comitatus Act. The law authorizes military police roundups and detention of protesters, detention of illegal aliens, potential terrorists, and other individuals. Here in Minneapolis or St. Paul, just last week or a couple of weeks ago, there was a bunch of kids, 200 and some young kids, sitting in a park. Police came in, arrested all of them. They have railroad cars. Gunderson Railroad out of Portland, Oregon. No relation, I hope. I have seen this car. Okay. I was driving from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. I lived in Las Vegas. I commuted a lot. Had a lot of work in L.A. And at Barstow, the road goes down under an railroad pass and then comes back up. As I started down, I saw my lights hit about 9:30 at night, this railroad car that was moving very slowly across the track. I'd seen pictures of it on the internet. I've talked to people who have seen the inside of these railroad cars. They're long aluminum benches on both sides, 3-tier. There's shackles at the ankle level all the way across. Recently, Congress had a closed-door session. I'll go into more detail on that in just a few minutes. But as a result of information leaked out of that session, there's an former LAPD police officer who has a contact in Washington. He said that that Congress was advised there are 1,000 detention camps in the United States. There are 500,000 caskets in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. And just about 6 weeks ago, tanks from Camp Pendleton Marine Base in San Diego were out on Interstate 15 maneuvering at the exit and entries of the interstate. My source on that is a Marine, by the way. So we have signed a treaty with the Canadians. They call it the North American Army, where we can call upon the Canadian troops to come into America in the event of civil disorder. Bush signed into law the Military Commission Act 2006 on October 16, 2006. It passed Congress. All is necessary to arrest someone is to declare that person an enemy combatant and then deny that person the right to habeas corpus. This allows the president to secretly lock up and throw away the key. It allows the government to torture citizens with strobe lights, waterboarding, without due process. It protects the president by giving him immunity from prosecution to torture prisoners. 12 senators voted against habeas corpus. Representative Jane Harman, Democrat, California, introduced the Violent Radicalization and Homegrown Terrorist Prevention Act. Don't you love these names they give these acts, huh? Of 2007, which amends the Homeland Security Act of 2002. The act adds provision pertaining to the prevention of homegrown terrorism. It's centered on terrorism by individuals in the United States, targets the civilian population of the U.S., and makes having certain thoughts. If you have a thought, It's a crime. Floating around in your head may be contrary to the administration policy illegal, and the bill defines terrorism as the planned use or threat, use of force or violence by a group of individuals. Theoretically, under the Terrorist Act, Patriot Act, right now, they could come in here and arrest every one of us. Because you're listening to me, you have a thought that is contrary to that of the administration. The question is, who can define the use of a thought crime? Would it change from administration to administration? Would the people of this country be sentenced to death or merely to prison for criticizing the conduct of their leaders in Washington? Yes, they could be. It's a policy that's going to be made by them. The bill will strip every American of the freedom to have a thought. It destroys the freedom of speech, the First Amendment. H.R. 1955 sets the stage to outlaw any protest in the United States. It criminalizes the very thought itself of having a protest. It regulates the thoughts of people of the United States. The National Security Agency is the super sleuthing agency in the world. The NSA monitors millions of phone calls, electronic communications, and emails that run all the intercepts, and then run all the intercepts through a powerful computer and analyze the information. I can't begin to tell you how much trouble my associate and I have with our internets. The NSA has the world's most powerful computers, employs a top tier of computer scientists, advanced mathematicians, and has the best language experts in the world. They collect satellite and oral communications, compile massive databases, and analyze data, including internet traffic. The NSA shares information with U.S. intelligence agencies, including the CIA, FBI, and the Secret Service. All payphones in Grand Central Station in New York City are tapped. In 1978, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act was passed by Congress. It created a secret court. Only the government has the right to solicit these secret court proceedings. The judge has no discretion to deny the secret request, and the recipient of the court is barred from telling about the court orders. The government can get a secret warrant from a secret court in a secret building, which happens to be the top floor of the Justice Building in Washington, D.C., and then get all of your secrets, and you won't even know it. The government won't tell us how many employees work for NSA, but it's believed to be around 38,000. $43.5 billion per year is spent on intelligence. Major recipients, CIA, NSA, National Reconnaissance Office, which is responsible for satellites. The CIA and the NSA account for $10 billion each. NSA and FBI have teamed up with AT&T and Verizon to spy on U.S. citizens. President Bush has reauthorized a secret program of spying through telephone communication more than 30 times on Americans since 9/11. The New York Times in December 2005 stated that President Bush had authorized secret domestic spying and had bypassed the U.S. Congress in doing so. In the meantime, President Bush claims his secret program protects the rights of all Americans. A former AT&T technician has stated the U.S. government has tapped into the entire Internet system. The technician states the U.S. government is doing a huge domestic dragnet on everybody in the United States. Cell phones. The FBI can listen in, and they are listening, by the way, on your cell phone, even though you have it turned off. Bush administration began spying on Americans 7 months prior to 9/11. The president authorized our intelligence agency to use database on every citizen in the United States 7 months prior to 9/11. Instead of admitting this, Bush claimed in a speech that the counterintelligence activities of the United States strictly targeted Al-Qaeda. Tuesday, March 12, 2001 session was only the fourth time in 176 years that Congress closed its doors to the public. Not only did members discuss new surveillance, but the imminent collapse of the U.S. economy that occurred September 2008, right now. It's happening now. And the imminent collapse of the U.S. federal government finances by February 2009. The possibility of civil war inside the United States as a result of the collapse, and advanced roundup of insurgent U.S. citizens, that's us, likely to move against the government. The detention of those rounded up by Rex 84 camps constructed throughout the United States, the possibility of retaliation against members of Congress for the collapse, the location of safe facilities for Congress, the merger of the United States with Canada for its natural resources and with Mexico for its cheap labor, the issuance of new currency, the marrow, for all three nations as a proposed solution to the coming economic Armageddon. Every president takes an oath of office. I took an oath of office, and I continue to support the Constitution. Okay. But this oath of office is to defend and support the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Here, some time ago, President Bush said, "What's the Constitution? It's just a goddamn piece of paper." Okay? Now, as a result of the Patriot Act, I wrote a letter to Attorney General Ashcroft, and it's a long letter. I put it on the Internet. I'm just going to read one paragraph from it. As a result of 9/11, we now have Homeland Security and the USA Patriot Act. The U.S. Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and who knows how many other alphabet agencies will be able to legally keep track of our credit cards, bank transactions, car rental receipts, gun purchases, passport applications, magazine subscriptions, medical prescriptions, academic grades, bank deposits, trips everybody books, events we attend, driver's license, toll bridge records, judicial and divorce records, rental car records, telephone records, interstate traffic, complaints by nosy neighbors to the FBI. It has been publicly announced that 1 in every 10 Americans are expected to become informants for the U.S. government. The Pentagon has developed an urban surveillance system that can track, record, and analyze the movement of every vehicle in a foreign city. In a foreign city. Ha ha. And what about searches of our neighbors and our property without search warrant? And randomly tap our phones and seize our property. How about this? Analyze the movement of every vehicle in a foreign city. I talked to a man in California at one of the conferences who told me that he was installing sensor devices in all the major highways in California, tied into your car. When you go over this particular highway, it keeps a record of where you are. Executive Order 12149 took the country, divided it into 10 divisions, and then Executive Order 11647 under Nixon, this goes back a few years, I designated certain cities as the capital. For example, in this division, this area, Atlanta, Georgia would be the capital. And 10 divisions. So I'm interested because let's see how they're going to handle it, how the bookie's going to handle that with football games. Are they going to say team number 5 from Division 3 is playing team number 6 from Division 8? And how are we going to bet on them? I don't know. Franklin cover-up. I had a call late 1980s. Now I'm telling you why. And Pat already touched on this. The Franklin cover-up out of Omaha, Nebraska. Driving kids to Sioux City, 184 miles, putting them in private jets, flying them to Washington, D.C. for sex orgies. That's how they get them, tell our congressmen how to vote. They frame them. I spent 2.5 months with a fellow named Rusty Nelson, who was the, quote, official photographer of this sex group. He was recruited out of Omaha, Nebraska. He would go down to the gay bars and take pictures of these people. I have nothing against gays, by the way. And then he was recruited out of there, and they asked him if he would like to go to work and so on and so forth. And Rusty was a farm kid from Nebraska. He had never been on a jet. And he saw the bright lights and all that and said, yeah, I'll take a shot at it. Well, they used Rusty as a official photographer to take these pictures of these congressmen and senators. They have meetings, and then certain groups after the meeting, some would go, they were kept overwards, and they went upstairs. And they refer to the little boys as toys. Boys are toys. For some reason or other, these perverts preferred little boys, not little girls. Anyway, beg your pardon, sir? Sounds like the Catholic Church, he says. Okay. This girl lady over here says that's, wait, hey, just relax, no fighting, please. Somebody over here said that's terrible. Well, you know, John DeCamp, who wrote the Franklin cover-up book, was the first person in the United States to sue the Catholic Church for pedophilia, and the judge threw it out of court. Then along came these other cases. Now, Pat mentioned conspiracy silence. Am I running out of time? Huh? Well, I got about another hour and a half to go. Is that all right?